Ge Holla, G dot holla.
Shout out to Ge Holla.
To Ge Holla.
Ge Holla.
Ge Holla.
Ge Holla.
Ge Holla. Oh my God, Ge Holla.
Boy Ge Holla. Shout out to Ge Holla.
Gentlemen, oh my global citizens of the world, let me tell you something. This so-called Delta variant is starting to rise and it's starting to attack people all over again like it's 2019. But I'm going to tell you something that you need. You definitely need to get them vitamins inside of you. You know, A, B, C, D, and E. Or get them on you, rub them on you, bathe in them, take them, you know, check with your doctor. And also, you need something good for your ears. You need a new sizzling single called Vitamin B. You know what I'm saying? B for Bravo, B for boy. It's going to get inside of your soul and it's going to clean you up. It's going to help you get back right again. You might be asking, how do I find this Vitamin B album I hearing about? It's been sizzling. Hey, I'm going to bring you the nephew of the legendary and iconic Bobby Womack. We're going to get Binky right onto the line today, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for the one that only, the new era Womack. You know what I'm saying? The continuation, the next generation. Binky Womack. Welcome to the show, my good brother.
Thank you, man. Nice to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah, that's right. It's a beautiful thing to see you because we're looking at music royalty right now. We really are. We're looking at a brother that is coming, is the second coming of something that's great. And we know that Vitamin B album out there is healing some people's souls too.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get it in everyone's eardrums because they need to hear it. You know what? I think the time is right. You know how music goes and comes and starts around, and with Bruno Mars release with that Silk Sonic, he had just opened the door for everybody to come on in. So we walking in there.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Keep that doorway, that pathway open.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like that's what's missing in music? You know, there was a time where there was real drums, there was, you know, real pianos, real keys, real instruments, you know, in comparison to what's being, you know, fabricated or pre-recorded now. How do you feel about live bands being in the studio with you? How do you feel about that?
Man, I love to play with the live band. There's nothing like it. You know, the sound is three-dimensional. Everything is there, all the elements. And, you know, once you hear that, your ears are adjusted to wanting to hear that. But for so long, it's been just the track dates. You get used to hearing that. And when you do hear a live band, you know, it's like, wow.
Yes, it's something about that music, about that how it just gets into your soul and it's just starts stirring it around and giving you those good vibrations. And no matter how, I seen a lady once, Binky, who was in the hood, was at the hood spot, older lady, she was in a wheelchair, bro. Things they say had like a stroke or something. That lady was moving her toes best she could. She was turning that wheelchair. She was still getting busy. She wasn't gonna stop the fact that she lost leg power when that music hit her eardrums.
Yeah, music touches the soul. It raises the goosebumps on your neck when you hear, you know, some of them notes. You're like, yeah, now this is it. And it's not a lot of that, you know. They took soul music, they took it out. It used to be music was segregated, and we thought that was a bad thing, you know. But it was a good thing because there was more. Everything was in like the soul or the black market. If you were black, then you just got that, you know. We had our own platforms, and since, you know, you don't hear, like, everything is separated, like soul, there's neo soul, there's R&B, there's trap, there's rap, but it's all the same thing. We all listen to everything.
That's right. I like what you said. Let's go back into the history a little bit. Go into a little bit of your history too. Get your story, your narrative on this timeline on My Celebrity Life. So, Binky, take me back to your earliest beginnings. what was your life like? Who was some inspirations for you as you was coming along? Still young, but as a younger man, then as a kid. Tell me about that. Tell me about what your life like growing up.
Man, life growing up was everyone was around me was in music, because my family they were writing, and they were doing a lot of touring and performing. So music was like all these people were around, and it was a togetherness, you know, and I would go to rehearsals or shows, and there would be shows like the Isley Brothers, Bobby Womack, and then everyone was at the show, like whoever was the heavyweight champion, like Ali or uh, Joe Frazier, all these guys, Jim Brown, all these guys knew each other, Richard Pryor, and they all just hung out, and they all had children. So you would hang out with Marvin Gaye's kids, or you'd hang out with Bob Dylan's children, or so we all Barry Gordy's children. So we all knew each other, and it was a different time.
Now, I heard this story from someone that told me, I don't know if you could connect the dots. Maybe you do or don't know.
Okay.
I heard this story. It spoke about, not Bob Marley. Yeah, it is. That's right. It is. It's Bob Marley and the Isley Brothers. They're family. They're related. I don't know if they're cousins or not. They were saying that Bob Marley was creating this new sound, because you spoke about the different versions of the same thing of the music, and how he was coming back to America before he passed away. And he was going to get with the Isley Brothers, and they were going to create like that new neo soul, what you call it, or rock and roll, whatever, creating that new essence of R&B. Was going to combine the rhythm and blues together. Have you ever heard of that before? Do you know anything about that? Like the whole connection with Bob Marley and the Isley Brothers?
No, I never heard of that before. But I know if the Isley Brothers connected with Bob Marley, it would have been something incredible.
Ooh, I agree.
Yeah,
I
it would
agree
have been
with you.
fantastic. I would have loved for that to have happened. But the Isley Brothers are phenomenal, and they've been making great music through a lot of different eras. And Bob Marley, his music is just it'll be around forever. It's every generation vibes off that music.
That's right. I agree. That's right. I absolutely agree. Now, getting back more into your story. So moving from there, you watching all the great, the iconic people coming through at that time, legendary status, even back then, just coming with that new sound, that new twist of music. What do you think? What are your thoughts on? Because once we start studying, we're learning that we created a lot of this music when it comes to what they call rock and roll. When it comes to country music. What are your thoughts? What do you know about that? Like Black people being at the origins of all of that. Like Little Richard, he often said a lot of times, I really, Chuck Berry, we created rock and roll.
He's an architect. That's true. I mean, you can't deny that. But what I've noticed is we will create something, and we're quick to abandon that and try to create something new. And no one else does that. If you look at rock and roll or blues, or none of the other races try to reinvent it. And we're always, to this day, the music is going to be, oh, this is the new stuff. This is that new. There's always the new, and we give up on like the classic soul and R&B. It remains. There's always those stations. But what about the new version of the classic and R&B? I mean, the same soul, same good lyrics, same. We're always reaching. So, like right now, there's the trap era, and we'll leave that because now that trap era is pretty much pop music. Justin Bieber or those people will move into that zone, and we'll forfeit that and go on to something else. It'll be the new version of whatever the trap is. So that's what I feel about that. There's not a lot of bands like there used to be Slave and Lakeside, Cameo, and you don't see that. We abandoned that. So that's kind of my music is still, it's Womack sound, but I'm not trying to reinvent it and make it like Womack but trap or whatever. It's just like if Slave, all the original members had a new record out, it would be that sort of vibe. Ohio players, stuff that I like to listen to. Commodores. Oh, I think we lost sound. I can't hear you guys anymore.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there
This
we
thing.
go.
Oh, sorry about that. This Zoom be acting up sometimes. So I want to ask you another question that's on that wave, that's level of energy. Thank you for giving that knowledge, especially to the younger people that's going to see this, that have no idea that these things, preceded before they came. So let's talk about for just a second, like you said, we abandon a lot of our own greatness and other cultures pick it up, including jazz. Jazz is another thing that we created too as well. What do you think about I lost my thought just that quick. Man, I had it. It'll come. Okay. What do you think about when they say cultural appropriation? Because someone you mentioned earlier, which is a great artist like Bruno Mars. There was a moment where a lot of black people were coming at him because he's really black because he's brown. I don't see the difference between black and brown people. I think we're the same people, just different sides of the shade of the coin. But when you think about other cultures picking up what we're doing and running with it and not giving like credit back to where it came from, do you think they are morally obligated to give credit, or it's just music and anyone can just pick it up and roll with it? Any culture can just take it and run with it.
Well, we make it easy for people to run with pick up our culture and run with it, and they don't make it really easy. It's never been easy for us to play rock and roll. Heavy metal. We normally stick to our own lane because there's not that open door. You don't have that accessibility like say some of the black rock bands that were fantastic, like Ice-T had Body Count, and then there was it Living Color? Living Color. And there were quite a few bands, even like with Fishbone. These are guys that played rock or all of their careers, but they never really made it over the plateau. They never really got that acceptance. But we're loving people. We don't discriminate. If the music is good, we just like if you remember when someone would come on Apollo and they just knew they weren't going to be able to sing because they were, they didn't look the part. But once they started to sing, we join right in and give them that standing ovation. So we make it easy for that to happen. And at the same time, we don't accept, our ourselves that easy. It took me quite a while to break through as an artist, but as a producer, they accepted me as a producer because that's what they knew me as. And then when I started to cross over and do come in the front of the mic, it was like, oh my God, what is he gonna do? It's like, just because I never, I didn't present that didn't mean I can't do it.
That's right. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. One more question before I let my co-host jump on, and she's gonna build with you. She's very great at pop culture. She's like the queen of pop culture. But before I introduce her, how do you feel? This is the aspect that I know, because we're not in control of the music industry, why this narrative is pushed on Black and brown artists. I see this a lot, especially in hip hop too. When they say someone is too old to do something, I disagree, because the simple fact is, you could look at rock and roll, where you got Bono, U2, Aerosmith. These men are some 70, 80 at least years old. And you got people in their culture that could be 18, 19, and they'll be singing all of their music and still supporting them. But for some reason, when it comes to our music, I think I know why. We get this label, this stigma that someone, you're never too old to do music. But that's just my opinion. What do you think about that? Those labels.
I agree. But it goes back to what we were saying about the new and the new, not accepting. A lot of the time it's because you're overqualified, you know, and people don't. A new artist doesn't want to accept that they're not capable, so they want to label some things, discredit the talent. That's what it is. It's it's saying this is new. I don't have to do that. You know, we made this new style, and that's what's happening. That other stuff, singing like Luther Vandross, nobody sings like that anymore. You know, that's the thing. So I think I've been in meetings with guys that actually said that out loud, like, I'm 19, I know what's happening, and if you accredit that you're 19, you really don't know a lot because all the older cats are making all the decisions. So some buy into it and say, okay, he's 16 or he's 15 or he's 14 or he's 17 and he has 10 years that we can, at least 10 years we can get out of him. So that's a part of it as well. You look at someone and say, well, it's a business decision. Should we start with, because the older generation has the money to buy whatever it is they want, all the products. So why not, you cater to those people.
That's right. It makes so much sense. I like
what a matter of that mixture of those things.
I like that. I like what I saw this old video of James Brown. It clearly had to be between the 70s and the 80s. And he was like, you don't create hit records, you market them. I was like, wow, that's right. That's so genius. Any album or record could almost be a hit if it's marketed correctly. Because, there's some things, some of us be like, why is this on the radio? How did this get here? Next thing you know, what you're doing later, Binky? You're singing it because they done played it so much, like riding the elevator music. You don't even realize it. Subconsciously, it's inside of you. You're like, oh, man, when I learned those lyrics?
Yeah, you can't get away from it. And some stuff you just refuse to. I mean, there's records out now that I just refuse to acknowledge. So whenever it's on, but it'll be pumped in your face. You can go on Google and it's in the news. You turn on the radio, it's on this station. You change that station, it's over on this station. So that's the mass marketing of a major label, able to put that in your face. And you're right. If it's okay record, it doesn't have to be a great record, but if it's okay, and you hear it enough, you will eventually know all the words, and you will be singing it.
I appreciate that. Psychological warfare, because they study us. All right, Mickey, I'm gonna connect you in with my other co-host of the show. She goes by the name of Kimmy D. She is the
Kimmy
pop
D.
culture queen. She gonna join in with you, and I'm gonna just fade to black right quick.
Okay.
Kimmy D, where you at?
Hi.
Hey.
So I came in a little late, so if I ask anything that's already been asked, please let me know. I just want to take it back, like to your early childhood and growing up in a musical family. What would you describe that experience as, and what did you learn from your father as well as your uncle?
It's like I often say, it's like going to college or getting an education, and it's going to be like that regardless of what your dad does. If your dad, like Floyd Mayweather, he wouldn't be a great boxer without his dad from the beginning, giving them inside tips and training and grooming him. Kobe Bryant, his dad was a basketball player. You're always going to get that. If your dad runs a bakery or anything like that, you will learn those things just by being around, and you will be able to run that business if you have a passion for it. or you will be able to excel at that. And that's what it was like. It was like being in a musical environment all the time, and it was different in those days because they always taught us to be polished and be
Yeah,
ready.
showmanship.
Showmanship, be great. You don't act a certain way. You carry yourself in a certain way, and that's what it was like. You know, there was rehearsals. You get to see the grueling schedules, riding those little planes with like 5 people on it from one city to the next. They call them the Buddy Holly, riding those planes and the bus trips, and you get to see everything, you know, and from city to city, all the local celebrities and national celebrities, and going to different 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 cities, meeting different people. It was something that it was a great time, a great era. You know, sometimes I'm in some of the places, and I remember when, like, maybe my uncle took me to this restaurant, and it just seemed like a big, glamorous establishment. And today, when you drive by, it's just like a little taco stand or something, because times have changed, and, the geographics and things have changed. But it was a real good feeling.
So like during those time or during that era, you had like many cities like Memphis, Detroit, who were big on the history and on Black music, Motown,
Exactly.
jazz, at Harlem, the Renaissance, and all those things. Do you think currently that we're missing some of that history with our music and
Yes,
legacy?
exactly. We're missing that because there aren't those type of venues. There used to be so many venues like you said, where in Harlem there was the Apollo, or there were all a lot of those places have become like movie theaters. I mean, where you watch movies,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that missing. There's really not a lot of live music, because you could go to any of those shows, and major artists were playing there, but it wasn't like, now that we have the internet. There, people don't really travel in to go see a local band or somebody who's bubbly. There's not a lot of, even where I live in LA. There used to be a huge live music scene that all the big bands like Guns N' Roses and all of those people came up through. Lenny Kravitz. We all played those same shows and stuff. There were maybe like 20 clubs like that in LA alone.
So you mentioned previously about acts having to be polished, and with social media now, we hear everything so quickly. Do you think that some artists should be more polished and more trained on how to be in front of the camera, or do you think the authenticity is what's making things a little bit better for artists?
No, I think what's making things better for artists, because uh, a lot of those things that we're talking about weren't accepted. Like you couldn't use any type of foul language in the record, because it wouldn't be played. Station could lose their license for airing something, or there were severe penalties. And now a lot of things are more accepted than they were. I mean, even with sexual preferences and stuff. There was that stuff wasn't allowed. Times were different, so people were different, and the acceptance, things that people accepted, were different. People had a lot more a lot more people were in the church, and things like that. So what was accepted now would never be accepted 20, 30 years ago, in movies and everything. You see that when you're watching television, and something pops up, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
what am I watching? Is this
Yeah, times have changed. And like just even listening to music, like the innuendos, like sexual healing and stuff like that by Marvin Gaye and other people, it wasn't until I got older that I realized what it actually meant. And now everything is so in your face. I think that what led to the aura of that time was like you had to really know what was being said to fully understand it. However, though, that music still has a legacy and has like history within it as opposed to some of the music we have now. Do you see the music where it is now currently having those 20, 30, 40-year-old hits that people still want to sing?
You know, I often wondered that myself. I think some of these records, like with the what we're talking about, the classics and the remakes, they're able to remake. I think a lot of these records will not be remade, you know, but I think that they won't. I don't know. It depends on the generations because what you grew up on, you're going to remember it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's going to be that sort of, you know what I mean? Where it's hard
Where it transcends generations.
yeah, it's hard to say if the other generations are going to pick it up because a lot of times when it like I can listen to music and because of the elements in it and the instruments, I could say, oh, this is a new record, or this record came out in the '80s. I probably never heard it before, you know, or this record came out in the '90s. So with the records that are coming out now, if music keeps, you know, morphing and transforming, I don't know if there'll be like a 2000 station. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you will hear spot records on certain radio, like a Sirius has that, but just blending in, it's hard to blend in like Little Baby with and the Marvin Gaye and the Beatles. You know, it's hard to blend that in. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know.
So with the times changing and, you know, like record labels sort of becoming obsolete in the control, do you think that with the ones that are left that there still needs to be that artist development as opposed to now where if you make it on social media, then you're likely to get a record deal or the distribution deal or something like that?
Well, that's the way it is now. I mean, the big labels have swallowed up all the little labels, and they're basically like two labels, two big labels. Everything else is under that. And now artists to get a record deal, it's the quick line to success, but your the profit margin
Smaller.
is way smaller. You may make a record label 100 million, and you're happy to have 5. So it depends in you know, but it's hard as an indie artist. I mean, you know that you have to grind, you have to do everything. So, but even selling records is getting to a point where maybe in 10 years, maybe even the largest artists won't even be selling records because social media and the internet and technology, there's no reason to 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 actually buy a record. You can you can subscribe to one of the
Streaming platforms.
yeah, streaming platforms and have everything that you ever want to hear. You know, today I think I want to hear this, and you pull up the whole album, you listen to it in your car. You have Bluetooth. There's no need to pop a CD in, and it makes it. I mean, it's fantastic. So, but the major companies are always going to win because they can, you know, still it comes down to because the deals they give now is like it's not a record deal like a traditional record deal. It's like, okay, we're not selling any records, so what we're going to do is we're going to make you huge, we're going to put you on tour, and we control all your merchandise. We get a piece of the shirts, the tickets, everything that you do. So that's that trade-off.
Do you see people needing record labels in order to properly market their music to be successful in the industry, or do you think that it's no longer as necessary as it used to be?
Well, before it was impossible for you to do something like that on your own, close to impossible on a a world level. But with the internet, you can make it happen. But as we said, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. It's like if you weigh 300 pounds and you should weigh 100. You
Yeah.
you want to take a pill and everything just whoop, whoop, versus getting out there at the gym every day and not eating this. It's work involved. So you can do it either way, but yes, the label has the ability to say, okay, you never heard of this guy before. He has good records. We're going to put him with these producers, and we're going to put the record everywhere, and they'll spend millions of dollars making it happen, and you'll hear that song on the radio or everywhere to like we were talking earlier till you're singing it, and wow, now this person can do other stuff. They can market vitamin water, or they can market Beats headphones, and these guys are making massive, massive amounts of money. You can sell gin and beer or anything. So that's the part right there. You're going for the bigger picture, and that's what a major label can do for you real quick. But when you look, like a lot of these guys, they have their money, and they think that they've made a lot of money until they really find out we made 300 million. How come we only have 3? And then they're upset and they, screaming they got a bad deal. But you have to, someone's going to get rich in the process, and the people making it happen for you, they're going to get the bigger chunk. So it's a good thing to make it happen for yourself.
So for people who don't know you or your family, what would you say should be your family's legacy as well as yourself, and how would you describe your own sound?
Well, the family legacy, it's the roots. They started in gospel, like the first era of artists. All of those people came from church. Aretha Franklin, Bobby Womack, Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, everyone who was in music, because culturally we were really brought up in the church. There were these. That's the way we were growing up. Your grandmother took you to church. Someone took you to church. It could have been the neighbor, but you were going to church.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah.
All day at that.
So the Temptations, all those guys. So that era moved into creating the first elements of music, and that's where they were. They created the soul, they created the R&B, they were producing to the Teddy Pendergrasses, the Shaka Khan, the Bloodstone, all the Dramatics, all that stuff. My uncles and dad, they had a hand in that, And then there was a live band era. They were still there through that, which was like the Slaves, as we said, and Ohio Players and those type of guys, Commodores. And now we've transitioned into everyone's a single artist. There's not really they're bands, but not in. You don't see young bands like the Baby go out and have a live show where it's bands and singers and that sort of thing. It's like track dates is what we used to call them when I was growing up. If my uncle went to a club and they didn't have the facilities for a live show, he grabbed the mic and sing over a couple of tracks, and that was the show. But the audiences wanted more than that. They wanted they just desired more in those days. Now you can do Coachella and have 100,000 people in the audience, and everyone on the whole entire
The camera froze.
show does it. Is it back?
Yeah, it's back now.
Okay.
So you said 100,000 in the audience.
And it's a track day. There's when we would go to shows in the day, and you'd go see like One Way with a Cameo. And there was all that time because they had to take all the equipment off the stage, set up the next band, and there would be like maybe a comedian or someone would fill in that spot. But now it's like you can have an artist like that doesn't have a band, but just huge artists like Ariana Grande or something like, and would just sing to her instrumentals, and people would just love that. You could get booed off the stage in a different time zone, in a different era. You know, Sam Cooke would have like a full orchestra.
Sam Cooke's story is very funny. I was reading about him not too long ago. Speaking of like just that in general, like, and like you said before, like the polished look, and then hearing about people's personal stories outside of it. Do you think if they were here today that their personal side would have been like overexposed, or people would have focused on that more than the music?
Well, if some no, because in those days those things weren't acceptable, right? You know, people would turn off to you for whatever reason it was that they didn't agree with, whatever. But now you can do whatever. They'd be like, oh, this guy didn't, you know, he's on drugs. And they'd be like, yeah, and it's his choice. You know, if he loves to get high, what's wrong with that? You know, what do you drink or something? It would those things are just like, you know, you can see, you know, like what we're looking at in the news, you know. Like look what's happening to R. Kelly right now. It's like when you think it could get no worse, they pull out new charges that are just like, wow, really? I was reading something yesterday that they were saying, okay, he wasn't only, you know, doing what he was doing it with young boys too. Now they have these bringing forth these. It's just, you know, and people are still they don't care about that. It's like I still love his music, but if this was in the times we're talking about, oh, there'd be a lynch mob outside the plays. They'd be burning his records and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because I was actually in New York because that's where he is in Brooklyn. And so there's people that's still out there that love him and everything. But I think with R. Kelly, it's kind of hard because he has been across so many different genres and written and produced for so many people. It's almost like Michael Jackson. Even if you don't like him, you can't quite completely dismiss him in your life because you might think this is maybe like, okay, I know like Celine Dion, for instance, where R. Kelly took her music off, but he's written for so many people in pop and country and gospel and everywhere else. It's almost like you would just have to dismiss a whole catalog of music.
But
You would have to.
and you know that, but a lot of people don't know everything, so they're not going to shut down, like you said, Celine Dion, because they don't really affiliate that with R. Kelly.
Yeah.
But you don't hear R. Kelly on the people on stations like you know like you did before. I mean, and I agree. I mean, he has great music, but still the fact is that there even with what side of the fence that you stand on, there are people that I don't care what he did. I love this music, and there would be like you couldn't stand up and say that out loud because then people wouldn't even like you. You know what I mean? In those days, it'd be like, "Oh, I'm not fooling with her anymore." You know what she said? What did she say? She said she's going to continue to play R. Kelly record. Oh, I'm not talking to her either. You know, you could have got blackballed yourself for even voicing some
I
opinion.
mean, you get a line, you hear it. I'm not gonna like. I'm one of those people. You have to be realistic, and people are like, I don't want to listen to anything R. Kelly. Well, I'm like, you got a lot to go through to say you're not listening to R. Kelly.
Exactly.
And so they're like, how do you stand with all that? I say I stand with anyone. I'm just saying you got a lot of music to
Yeah,
go through.
to completely cut out that. It's like you know we all have our cross to carry, so it's like what someone did, I mean, I think it's a bit extreme to say, let's erase this person from pop culture, like they did to Milli Vanilli.
Oh yeah, who
You
actually
know,
could really sing. However,
exactly, exactly. So it wasn't their decision; it was the record company's decision to market them like, these guys have a great look. We're going to do this, and who's not going to be in? But when the curtain came pulled and everyone knew what was up, they took their Grammy back. They gave a rebate on their record. I mean, they did those guys just like terrible. It was terrible. So they were homeless, and that was a terrible story.
yeah, suicide on everything, which is
Yeah.
interesting because now you have so many people who are not really singing their records or even writing them, and yet they're on a pedestal.
And times have changed, and no one cares.
Yeah, as long as you have a nice beat and hook, that's
They
really all that matters.
don't care who sang it. They're getting the credit. That's it. So it's a different time, and a different level of acceptability and what matters, what doesn't matter.
So, what do you have coming up as far as your music or producing or anything else that you're involved in now?
I'm working on which will be my next album, which will come out next year, and I'm working on Lisa Love record. I have a band, funk band with George Clinton's son. It's called the P Union. If you look that up, we're working. Well, that album comes out August 11th, so it's all funk. It's just like Funkadelic 2021. But saying that, it's all the elements of what Funkadelic would be if you got a Glory Holla Stupid album in this era. It's not, we didn't flip the music to trap. It doesn't, there's not 808s or anything like that. It's knee deep, that you never heard before. So look for that.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. I know GeHolla probably wants to come back on, so I'll let him come back in. So GeHolla.
All right. Good job. Good job.
GeHolla's cold. He went and had breakfast or lunch or something. Then he comes back in. He got a little something.
I appreciate you. Now I know you've been talking for a minute, so we could, if you like, you could take a break. But before you take a break, we want to play your song, Vitamin B, and set that up for us right quick.
This is Vitamin B by Binky Womack. This is that Soul 2021.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Here we go, y'all. I ain't gonna do no more talking. Everybody can kick back, relax. You can turn your cameras off. If you like it, you can keep them on. It's all good. And we're gonna listen to some Vitamin B. And then y'all get some of that in your life.
Around the world, met a lot of girls, lots of conversations. What they think a man should be. The ones in your system, we get to kissing. It's so pretty. That's what it takes, mama. What you need is this vitamin B. Let's take all of me. Vitamin B. I'll be there. You will be. Count on me. Count on what you need is this morning. Just look at me. Take all of me. There's a romance, it's the same.
People Vitamin B, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we got a little live show going over there too. What can we get from you live? What you got for us?
Man, you couldn't hear anything of this because this is all not plugged in. But maybe next time we do the live show.
Okay. I appreciate you, man, for including us in that. That album, that record is absolutely dope, y'all. Y'all make sure y'all check them out. It's Binky Womack. That's Binky space
Yes.
Womack. Is that all social media? All social media the same way?
All social media, BinkyWomack.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything. Straightforward.
Cool. We down with that. So y'all make sure y'all, when y'all see this, y'all tap in, y'all link in, come download something, spend some money, man. We spend all our monies on things that's not gonna help us, but especially for the ladies, y'all need some vitamin B right now. You know what I'm saying? You need some vitamin brother. You know what I'm saying? B can be whatever you want. You know?
Exactly.
You will. Vitamin bad man. That's a bad man. Binky Womack is a bad man. You know what all instruments you play? If you can just get that understanding about your musical background.
I play bass, guitar, piano, drums. I play some horns growing up, but I don't play much horns now because they're synths. You can play everything on the keys. But on most of my records, I play all the instruments.
Wow. That's amazing. Like, I don't think people understand that. Like, because trying to read music, just like anything else, it's not for everybody. You know, I know a lot of people that have tried and it wasn't successful, but that's okay. They probably was a good mechanic, or they probably was a good doctor or something. But to have that musical essence to you, man, that's dope right there. To me, I think so.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot of cats that don't read that can still play, that are phenomenal. Like Stevie Wonder. It's obvious he can't read music, but man, he can play anything. I was watching Summer of Soul. Did you guys see that? Soul Summer? Questlove, the thing Questlove put out.
Haven't seen it yet, but I need to watch it.
Yeah, I watched part of it.
Oh, you gotta watch that, man. I can't believe that footage was sitting around in some basement somewhere for 50 years. It's like all the great artists, like Gladys Knight and the Pips and the Prime. And this goes back to what we were talking about, these live shows. It was Gladys Knight and the Pips, it was Sly Stone, it was the Fifth Dimension. It was just 3 days of shows. Fantastic. You gotta watch it. And it's free. You know, you don't even have to pay to go to the theater it's a big chunk of history, because at the same time he talks about the struggles that we were going through when the police murders and the riots and all that stuff is in that time frame. It's fantastic. You guys have to check it out.
I like how you brought that up because that makes so much sense. Me traveling back, I'm just a history person. I like to study history. But traveling back, I saw the time where James Brown was making I'm Black and I'm Proud. Now, because we're in retrospect, we don't know. During that era, that song was really motivating, wasn't it? It was really like a essence builder a self-worth builder to say that I'm black and I'm proud. Me just thinking, just logically about it, looking at all the things that our ancestors been through, doing like that 60s and 50s, 60s, and some of the 70s. But I guess it chilled out a little bit versus the 60s. But him making that record at that time, just like you're making Vitamin B at this time, it means so much in retrospect when you look back to have that courage. Even you spoke of Sam Cooke, he making the song, Change Gonna Come. It put him in the category of you became an enemy of the state, so to speak, to the government, pretty much, because you're telling the people that's being oppressed, stand up, fight for yourself. What do you tell me about that? Tell me about teach the audience that may not be of a certain age that may can gravitate to that knowledge.
I'll put it like this: in those times, once you see the Questlove thing that we're talking about, you will be able to equate it a lot better, because we have the same problems that we did then, but together as a people, we were bonding together, and we were trying to stand up against certain things, injustices. Today, we have more millionaires than we've ever had. But everyone I'm not going to say everyone. A lot of people aren't concerned with what's happening to the next guy. They're not concerned about that. It's just like, I've got $2 million worth of jewelry on. Look at me. And that sums it up. There's still, we could be doing a lot more together if we were bonding, like you talk about Sam Cooke and all those people that became an enemy of the state. They were literally enemies of the government, considered them to be like communists or something, because they were speaking against injustice.
That's right. You're right. And what King say, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, and it's true. A lot of people in the other culture, some of them may feel like, oh, because my skin looks indifferent from yours or different from yours, that I'm not under some form of oppression. But if you look back at it, whether you are, I only use this word for general population, slave, but really you was you was a prisoner. Even you being a slave, aka captured prisoner, you could have been on the plantation too as another hue, but you were being just as oppressed as everybody else. Just because you're watching over someone, this is like a guard in jail. We're all locked up together if we're in jail. Now, true enough, you probably get to go home at the end of the day, as long as you do everything right, but you're still locked in too. So you don't see something wrong with the whole system, while even you're being somewhat oppressed, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're paying you what you want. It's just an awakening, Binky. I don't know if you can see it. It's an awakening that's happening on this planet due to, some people say, the plandemic, some people say the pandemic, whichever one it may be. There's an awakening of people. Do you see where those people are quitting all of those retail service jobs collectively together? And they're saying, my life is not even, you told us 5 years ago, you can't raise no minimum wage nowhere in this country. Now you're willing to give people $15+ an hour to do the same job you said you did not have the money and the funds for. We don't want to work here. It's not worth our security and our safety still being out here in this pandemic. What's your thoughts on that? Or if I'm going too political, let me know how bad.
No, I mean, my thoughts on that, I agree. I remember minimum wage was like less than, was it like $3? When you were a kid, if you got a job, what was the minimum wage when you guys? I never had a job in those days, but I remember it was like, I think I went to McDonald's or one of those places to get a job, and when I found out it was like $3, I was like, $3. But
it was $5.15 when I started working.
Okay, so $5.15, and you worked your way up, and then you got to a certain level. How did you feel when they said, okay, we're going to make minimum wage $15?
Actually, I don't see a problem with it as long as everybody else's income goes up with it.
Okay, but if they can, if a lot of things, yeah, that part right there, but they're not talking about putting everybody else's wages up $15 an hour. Now, if you was that guy who you started at that job and you've been there, say 8 years, and now because those raises are like a dime, a nickel, a quarter,
Yeah, they are.
10 cents, 15 cents, you get to the point you're making $11, or say, yeah, $11. And then now some kid is going to come in right next to you that's 15, and he's going to make $15 an hour right with you. You got to regret that. You got to, that, if you're making a lot more, you're just like, wow, well, good for those people over there. Good for the people, but the people that are
Well,
actually had to grind and try to, work 2 or 3 jobs and go to school and do whatever, you're like, wow, it's got to be a certain type of feeling.
it
I sympathize with
depends.
those people.
For me, I understand that, like, the dynamics, because I have 2 degrees and I don't make nearly nothing as what I should be making. So the grind never stops, but I'm also
Exactly, that part.
Black. So I always know that the standard doesn't apply to me. However, I've been to other countries where they make it livable for their citizens and residents. And it just
Exactly.
goes into the dynamics of this country in general, which I think is the problem.
Well, I think a lot of people have problems with not that they were raising up the money and all that. I mean, that was part of it too. If you had to work through that to get to something like you were saying, but it's also about um, what that money, where that money's going to go. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's going to make everything around you go up as well. It's not just like minimum wage is going to go up, and then the,
Yeah,
the
inflation
price
will
of
go
rent,
up,
yeah, the price of rent and
supply and
taxes and
demand.
everything
But
is
at the
going
same
to go up.
time, we paying politicians 6 figures a year to argue about one part of a bill. So the
Well,
money is still not being distributed.
that's a whole different Bush issue. I mean, the politicians are yeah, they've been, are raping you and
And
doing
then
you
the
in.
wealthy, that like the 1% are not being taxed because they write it all off. So I feel like if distribution was better with money, then the economy could get back to what it used to be. Yes, some things would go up, but it'd be more people who are able to survive. Because if COVID showed anybody anything, is that you are not an exception. And then when people find out, others, I'm gonna say others for politically correct terms, find out what it's like to actually have to be on food stamps and get unemployment, all of a sudden is we need to have change. Meanwhile, there's been plenty of minorities who have had to survive, and you always, told to be pulled up by your bootstraps. But there are so many systems in place that will block that.
Well, and that's a myth. Most people that are on food stamps, the majority is
All
not black.
white. They're white or Hispanic.
Others. So that's one myth. But what you said around the world, it's about making it livable for everyone, right? There are so many people that are homeless out on the streets, and more all the time. In great neighborhoods. There's like a row of tents on every block. But that's because everything goes up and never
Mhm.
comes down. Back, like we talk about 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have the problems and things that we have now. You could buy a house and a car for $10,000.
Dollars, yeah.
Both of them. Both of them. Every year, um, property tax go up, and they'll tell you your house is worth more than it was last year, and you're going to pay more. My mortgage has uh, gone up $100 every year, and it continues to go. Is it ever going to go down? Eventually, eventually, if it keeps going up, I mean, every house will be worth $1 million in in the shabbiest areas. You know what I mean? You can't go into um, an urban area and buy a house for less than $2 million sometime in the future.
Yeah, once the Starbucks get put up there, that's it. Regentrification, a new migration. So that's what's gonna happen. Which goes back to the income and the wages having to go up, regardless if that's what the price points are going to be.
Everything can't continue to go up like that because you'd be paying. I remember when I was in elementary school, uh, there was nothing on the menu. You couldn't go to a place and like there was no such thing as a $5-6 cheeseburger. You can get a $50 cheeseburger at certain restaurants. Everything was pennies. You could get a burger at McDonald's for like a quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, eventually, if everything keeps going up, I mean, you walk into a place and order burger, fries, and a Coke, and it's going to be $35.
Mm-hmm.
Closer than that than we think.
So what's going to happen? It's going to either be like terrible where you can't, like in the inner city, it's going to be like a combat zone because people are going to be robbing and killing, and you're going to have to like look out your window with a gun. Who is that back there? It's me, Dad. Don't shoot. You know. So there has to have to be some type of leveling off. You know, at some point, someone has to step in and say, "No, we're not selling it. It's against the law to sell a hamburger because this is why everyone's getting sick and all of these things because we're cutting the food supply with crap so we can sell more. You know what I mean? It's just not a good time.
You're right. You're right. What you're saying, Binky, is absolutely correct. Even in the city I'm in right now, I'm in Atlanta, and let me tell you, what you said, the crime wave has moved from out of our communities and it's spewing into theirs. I don't know if you know much about Atlanta. There's a part where I know you're pretty sure you heard of the Underground, which is in the city, downtown Atlanta. Literally on the same road, Peachtree, I don't care what name it turns into at a certain point when you get to Midtown. Midtown is considered, at one point back in the day in the 90s, it was like the upper echelon of downtown Atlanta as you were moving, north, I believe. But going up Peachtree Street, you get to a certain point where, I'm gonna keep it real with you. It's a mall called the Lenox Mall. It's very big. They always had upscale items. You couldn't find no Foot Lockers or any of the typical stores the brothers and sisters that come from the hood would go and buy from. Now, out at the Lenox Mall, people are getting robbed, people are getting shot, people are getting killed randomly because of downtown Atlanta, where the places where the hood used to shop at, it's all closed. And it was closed before COVID because another company came down here and bought all that out. So there's no more really shopping places that are open along with the whole COVID situation. And the people are wondering, why is crime going up in these places? It's exactly what you just said. This is barren, just like in the movie Mad Max, like no gas, so to speak, no jobs, nowhere to shop. Where are you going to go? You're going to go where the gas is at, so to speak. So you're right. It's happening now, right here in Atlanta.
It's a pressure cooker, and eventually, it's going to blow. The top is going to blow off.
That's right. And I heard about LA. What you're saying? This has people out there, nurses, LPNs, whatever, medical healthcare professionals, living in what they call tent city, right there in LA. They're living under the bridges, and some of these people got 2-3 jobs because they cannot afford to live because of the price gouging and the housing out there.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. It's like there are people that are they were outsourced, with the COVID thing. You lost your business or you lost your house or you're behind so much that, what do you do? And some couldn't work, it's bound to happen. It's a get left behind type thing. Either pay to play, get left behind, because we feel as a society, a lot of people are just expendable. I mean, when you drive by and you see all these people that are homeless, they're not all drug addicts. They're not they're not all, you know, degenerates. These are people that just some people just lost it all.
No, you're right. And some people don't have, we may be fortunate, some of us, to have family we can go live and stay with and bond. But like you said, everyone doesn't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't even know if I have family I can go stay with. Like, man, you think I can stay with you for a while? Like, hold on, man, let me call you back.
And some people choose to be homeless because it's easier for them.
Yeah, it's less burdens. You can say, well, you know, I guess it depends on yeah. I can see that. I can see people saying, you know, I'm just gonna take it like this. I'm gonna make my money go further, and the way to do that is to have no rent and have no whatever. I have a friend who
And you know
had a
what?
5-bedroom house, and now he has a tent. So
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. Hey. Man, that's crazy, man.
yeah.
All right. We ain't gonna hold you too much longer. I appreciate you being on the show today. Is there anything else you want to cover, Binky, that we may have possibly missed in our great dialogue that we're having with you? We can talk to you all day, but we know you got things to do.
Yeah. When you were having breakfast, we were talking about like some of the other things, like the P Union. That's George Clinton's son and I. We grew up together, and we have this funk band. I want you guys to check that out. There's some stuff out there from the last album, but we had to go back in and we had to clean some of it up because you know George Clinton's son got a foul mouth. So we said, man, we can't get in this on the radio. So we had to go back in. The album's called Flush It, but we had to go do it. Now it's called Reflush It. So check that out.
Would you ever consider doing a reality show? Because you know you got like the hip hop kids. You know, we need like a funk and blues type of, you know, say R&B.
Let me tell you this. This is amazing that you said that. They were gonna do the Womack family reality show. Kurt Franklin was like the narrator, the commentator, and this was right at the beginning of COVID. Shut the show down. So it was gonna be what's her name? Mona? Is it Mona Scott?
Mona Scott.
That's it.
She was gonna be the one of the executive, you know, responsible for, you know, shaping the show up. But yeah, so I think that probably will happen once everything gets going. But yeah, that was just like one of those bad breaks. You know, you're like, we gotta have our old TV show. All right, yeah, here it goes. What? Everything was shut down.
I can't believe this.
I can't believe it. Yeah, it's like when it's your year to get drafted to the pros and it's a lockout. You know what I mean?
I know you feel. So big shout out to Mona. What's up, Mona? We gotta get that Womack show going. So
yeah. We're gonna get that show going. It's gonna be tight.
Okay. I just want to tell the fans out there, if y'all know Mona and y'all fans of Binky and the Womack family, y'all flood her inbox, her DMs, her timeline with, we need that hashtag Womack show. How about that? Let's do that. How does that?
You know what? I'm gonna send you the trailer. I'm gonna send you the trailer so you can see it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put it in the video when you send it to me.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna throw my email in here. Kimmy D, you got anything else you want to talk to Binky about before we let him go in a moment?
No, because I feel like we're gonna talk forever.
I know we can do that. We'll be at dinner.
Yeah, because I can talk about the whole history of music, like, because you know a lot of people have passed on, and you just to know that history is amazing.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's like to reflect on something that you said earlier. I remember one time when I was my aunt is Mary Wells, and she was the first lady of Motown. So Motown used to have this picnic. They pick a location, and it was like deep in the park somewhere, like one of the real big national parks. And everyone would be there having like doing like regular stuff, like Stevie Wonder's and the sack race. Cat was like just the Commodores and all their family, just all of these people like that, and that was, and it's just like a barbecue with everyone there. You know what I mean? Temptations and stuff, and I miss those type of times. And like you were saying, all those people have passed on, and it's a different era. If we did that today with today's artists, you know what would happen. It'd be like, well, there was a shootout in the park, and you know, it'd be terrible, man. You get all these cats. These cats have beef with each other for nothing, you know.
Nothing. Some of them even have just entertainment beef where it ain't real, what is just doing it for the looks and the likes and the numbers. Because that's the new social media game, is to create drama, create something like there's some type of problem with you and someone else to get views for the monetization of it.
And that's like having a violent beef with somebody at your job. We gonna have to work together at, you know what I mean? At some point we gonna be face to face, and that was something that I noticed in these times when backstage used to be a safe place. There were just artists, nobody was threatened, and there was safety, and it was the green room was, there was something great going on in the green room. But now you go, if you're backstage at an event, it could get ugly. It's worse than maybe being in the audience, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're right. It goes down. When they say go down the dim, you're right. It goes down the back room, the PR too, the green room as well. Okay,
Yeah.
I done been back there with two artists. Somebody done walked in, and you know what's crazy, Bink, about that too? You'll have somebody that's on your team, because a lot of artists carry a lot of street people on their team, and they unrefined. Use one of those proper terms. If they're unrefined, unpolished, so when they get back there, everybody's looking at each other like, and with those street lenses on, like you can't trust nobody. Somebody say something out of the way, or maybe somebody is running with a flag, a blue team, or a red team, a yellow flag. It don't matter, orange flag. Some streets got certain colors associated with them, and they looking at each other like in an aggressive manner, like we in jail, because that's what brothers do. When they get behind somewhere, it's like, hold up, what team you with? Where you from? Like they say in LA, where you from?
Yeah.
And they're not asking your home address.
And that's what so I used to do a lot of rap records, and that kind of deterred me. I was saying that in an interview the other day, from doing rap records, because I'm not like a street guy. I'm dumb to that, but I'll be with cats, and they'll be saying, man, you don't say that, or you don't do this, or so, bringing me up on my street etiquette. Well, anyway, like say you're working with a rapper, and he brings another rapper. These guys, you assume they're friends. Now, you may do another session with one of those rappers that you just did in the session 4 months over, and he's not friends with the guy anymore. They had some type of beef, and he'll ask you, "Oh, you still messing with MC so and so?" Yeah, I thought that was your boy. That ain't my boy. Well, you introduced him to me. Oh, well, you messing with him. It's like, I can't keep up with all that stuff, or cats coming in saying they got to put their gun on the table. Let me put my gun on the table. And I've been, and like you said, they come with. I did a record with. There was three main rappers, and they came to my house because we were just going. I just figured we'd just lay the vocals at my house. And each one of those dudes had like 5 carloads of people with them. So it was like, okay, 30 of y'all gonna have to stay outside in the backyard because we can't fit in here,
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right. Mm-hmm. No,
And
you're
then
right.
producers
You're
were
right.
getting killed and shot, behind stuff like that. It's just like, I know this one cat he lived in an affluent neighborhood, pretty, like, close to me. And he was like, man, the dude that produced so-and-so, they found him dead at his house. And I knew exactly, like, oh my God, he did a session with some people and something probably got out of hand. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I had to cut those elements out, man. I'll send, tracks or whatever, but I can't, like, I don't want to be in the studio with all that going on.
That's right. That's right. No, I understand it.
Snoop and them used to have pit
It's
bulls running
referred
through
to as
there.
gang politics.
Yeah, they used to have pit bulls running loose in the studio. It just eat you. I remember bit his uncle or somebody one time. It's just crazy.
No, you're right. You're right. Even for what we do as interview people, even if you aren't a person, if you interview somebody else from a rival set, gang,
Oh,
organization, because
I didn't know it was. I didn't
and
know
if
it
they're
was.
dissing and disrespecting them,
Yeah, I didn't know it was spilling over into into the DJ lane too. Like, you playing so and so record? That's crazy, man. So you know what I'm talking about firsthand. You guys there? I think I lost you.
No, his is froze. He'll be back. There you go.
Oh,
That's crazy.
My brother, I be out here in the streets. I trust me. I know somebody once that's a DJ. He was playing somebody else's record, and that person had beef with them, and the dude tried to jump over into the DJ thing and fight him because he was playing the record that he was getting disrespected in, and the DJ really didn't know. It was just a popular song. It was just popular. It was lit. He was just playing it, and the guy walked in, and the guy was like, "Are you trying to disrespect me?" He like, "Man, I don't even know what you're talking about." Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah. It's a different type of, it's a different type of thing, and you got to be up on all of that. You got to be up on all of that if you're gonna be in that, in that zone. So I just said, man, I'm not in that zone no more. I have what do you call it? Like a translator, an in between man. I give my record to the in between man. Say you play it for them, and then they talk to you, and then you talk to me. But I can't. I always do a little research on artists. I was getting ready to work with this one cat, and they were like, "Well, yeah, they sent me some links to his video." Man, it was like dudes in the video with AK-47s and machine guns, and they were like, I was like, "Oh, no way! I'll give you the track, you give it to him. I never want to meet him in person. You know what I mean? That sort of thing." So.
I don't blame you. It can get kind of crazy. I just want to say it's rest in heaven to this guy. You can look him up later. He's called Zach TV, ZAK TV. He was out in Chicago, and he was interviewing a lot of the BDs and the GDs, Gangster Disciples, and excuse me, Disciples. So you could just see he was going into the neighborhoods because he was from Chicago, but still, you ain't from that hood. You could be from a hood, but you ain't from that one. And he was interviewing different people, and he was getting threats from different gang sets up there. He ended up getting killed. I don't know what was the reason why, but he was
a rival gang ended up killing him.
Well, it's a deeper story than that. That's what they tell people, but I don't want to put that out there. But long story short, yes, we can say that for now. But it's a real deep story. So.
Yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, but like in the streets up there, because I know a few people, it's some more stuff, but I'm gonna leave that off. But yeah, we can just say that for now. So yeah, it could get dangerous if you're not careful and cautious. And
this is supposed to be.
It is. All right, my good brother.
All right, y'all. So.
All right. Well, before we let you go, I do want to get a drop from you, Binky, if you don't mind. The name of the show is called MycelebrityLife. I'm Ge Holla, and that's Kenny D. If you could just let the people know to watch the show, if you don't mind.
Say it again. You're breaking up a lot.
Oh, okay. The name of the show is called MycelebrityLife with GeHolla, I'm GeHolla, and then that's Kimmy D over there. If you can give us a drop before you go.
This is Binky Womack on My Celebrity Life with Ge Holla and Kimmy D. I like Kimmy D. So great.
He got the midnight soul voice going. Like
No, you gotta put it down. Midnight special. With Kimmy D and Ge Holla.
Okay, my stock just went up.
yeah.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
If I can give you the flowers before you go, thank you so much, my brother, for being who you are, being real, being authentic. Bless you in all the things that you do. May everything you do increase 100,000 tenfold to infinity. You're a smooth, cool, and real brother. We appreciate you. We salute you. We double tap on the heart like we do on IG, and keep doing your thing, my brother.
Amen. Be sure to send me your email so I can send you that.
He put it in the comments.
Oh, okay.
Do you see it in the chat?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see it there. Pow.
I'll leave it up there before we close out. All right, Kimmy D, let the people know how they get in contact with you.
All righty, you can find me on Instagram at ms_KDK and find me on Facebook at Kimberly Denise, KIMBERLYDENISE. And as always, you can find me on My Celebrity Life with Ge Holla.
Holla.
All right. Holla. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Did you get the email address, Binky?
I got it. I'm gonna send that to you. Okay, you guys.
All right.
All right. Salute to you, young king. All right, y'all. We're out. We're gonna let Binky go. Thank everybody for watching the streaming that we got going on. I appreciate you showing love. Everybody showing love. And once again, you can find everything on GeHolla.com. Holla, holla. Kimmy D, what it do?
Really? We gonna do that? You're not gonna add in the roll tide this time?
No. I see you gonna add it in. See? Okay, so you want the roll tide? Let me hit you with the roll tide. Okay, once again, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here. We got the roll tide nation in there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, when y'all see Kimmy D, she is a for real roll tide. Don't be asking her crazy questions like, "Do you follow Alabama? Is you with the roll tide?" She with the roll tide. We're telling you now. So if you see this video, do not ask her if she down with the roll tide. When y'all see her, y'all want to take her on a date, go into her DMs, do it the right way. You feel what I'm saying? Don't be doing all that craziness, you know what I'm saying, talking crazy. Go in there, give her a compliment, you know what I'm saying? Let her know that you try to take her somewhere, plan a date, fellas, okay? Don't just be in her DMs talking about where you want to go. Take her to a very nice restaurant. We're not going to McDonald's and Burger Kings and all of that. No offense to that, because sometimes your budget is at that level, but save up a little bit more and at least take her to somewhere like Applebee's or somewhere like that. Take her somewhere you can sit down.
Applebee's is unacceptable too.
Oh, sorry. Where you trying to go? Where we going?
I mean, I like to eat. You're gonna have to actually plan. Like I don't really do Applebee's, but you're gonna have to find some kind of decent restaurant and actually do an outdoor activity or something where we can actually communicate, so I can decide if you're worth my time.
Oh man, I felt like there need to be some snaps behind that. Snap your finger 2 times. Snap your finger 2 times. Okay, y'all extra snap. Y'all see that, right? She got y'all extra snap. I like your braids too. Your braids look nice. All right.
Since you go in, put that on there, then somebody gonna be in my DM for real. And I have to be like, where you got this from?
They gonna get blocked anyway. I ain't worried about that.
I don't block. I think that's crazy the way people just want to block people off these days. I don't block. I just ignore.
Oh, hey, that's a form of blocking. It's a mental block. So you're right. It makes sense. Whatever worked for you. We ain't here to judge. We just say do your thing. All right, y'all. We ain't gonna hold you, man. You know what I'm saying? If y'all see Kimmy D out there backpacking around the world, show some love too. You know what I'm saying? No touching, no touching, no touching, no closely, no closely, no getting close.
Consent is necessary.
Consent, and that's it. Y'all gonna see her in this yellow dress really soon. She was out there.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even tell y'all. No, I can't even tell y'all the location because y'all might try to go to the location where she was at. Just know she was somewhere out there with some celebrities with the yellow dress on, getting mentally undressed. She was getting undressed with the eyes. Everywhere she went. Ladies and men. You know you bad when you get ladies and men covered at you. You know what I'm saying? She get compliments from ladies as she walking off. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm talking too much. My bad, I'm telling too much of the story, y'all. You had to be there. You just had to be there to see it.
Hi. I'm not even gonna say that though, because we're gonna cut this. We're gonna cut this now.
We're gonna keep this live, keep this going. So thank you all for tuning in and being a part of the show. Much love and support to everybody out there. And salute. Keep doing your thing. We out. Holla, holla.